Hello and welcome to National Focus. I'm Pearl Fontaine. Thank you for joining us. Coming up, government provides interest-free loan to DAPEX. Dominica's Agriculture Minister reports on the 11th Annual Caribbean Week of Agriculture and the Electronic Funds Transfer Act to be reviewed when Parliament meets on Wednesday. Stay with us for these stories and more right after the break.
There is a silent, invisible killer in our midst. A killer which largely goes unnoticed as it plies its deadly trade. Its name is second-hand tobacco smoke, which has a far greater impact on persons inhaling this poison than on smokers themselves. Second-hand tobacco smoke is especially detrimental in public places and negatively impacts our national health as well as public health expenditure. Stop this invisible killer now. Say no to second-hand tobacco smoke in public places. A public health message brought to you by the Ministry of Health and the Pan American Health Organization.
Welcome back. The government of Dominica has honored a promise made during the 2012-2013 national budget to provide Dominica's Agricultural Producers and Exporters Limited, DAPEX, with interest-free loans, which will allow it to purchase produce from local farmers. On Monday, Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, made available a check valued at 400,000 EC dollars to DAPEX to widen and develop its export business. For some time now, DAPEX has been experiencing cash flow challenges, and Prime Minister Skerritt is hoping that this loan will greatly assist the company in its operations.
This is not the first time that we're providing the private sector with funds at 0% interest. To assist them in increasing their procurement of agricultural produce. A couple of years ago, we entered into an agreement with Dexia, where we provided Dexia with well over $250,000 thereabout, $150,000, and they lent this money to private sector people who are in the business of purchasing purchasing agricultural produce. Now, this was at 0% interest, so it's the same arrangement we have with DAPEX today.
The Prime Minister added that the loan to DAPEX highlights the government's commitment to agriculture and its efforts at employment creation.
Oftentimes you hear people on the talk shows say that the government is doing nothing for agriculture or for farmers. But this government has continues to provide farmers with free planting material, free technical assistance, highly subsidized inputs, and in many cases, free inputs, the provision of 0%, 2% interest loans, and grants to farmers. And of course, today we're here with the provision of funds to the private sector for the purchase of agricultural produce.
Chairman of the Dominica Agricultural Producers and Exporters Limited, Luce Prevost, said the funds will go directly towards agricultural exports.
The thing about export is that as you continue to broaden your export or deepen your export, then you find the question of cash flow becomes even so more critical to you. So this $400,000 we have budgeted since early this year to go directly in terms of support of agricultural exports.
He noted that the key policy of DAPEX has always been to pay farmers on time.
The key to our business is production and the farmers, and as a result, our principle, our strategy has been never to have farmers supplying us produce and not being able to pay them within a short period. And our short period for us is basically 1 week. So this finance here has come to assist us in terms of meeting that as we continue to export and expand our strategy.
Dominica's Agriculture Minister, Honorable Matthew Walter, said this loan to DAPEX is testimony of government's continued commitment towards the development of agriculture in Dominica.
The Labour Party and government has placed a lot of emphasis on agriculture because of agriculture's potential in reducing poverty and ultimately eradicating poverty and creating employment and generating economic activities, more specifically in the rural areas. So agriculture, cannot be overlooked.
Meantime, General Manager of Dexia, Gregoire Thomas, welcomed the injection of funds to DAPEX.
It is for us at Dexia an important moment, and we want to encourage DAPEX to do their best in terms of the management of these funds and in terms of the outreach to our farmers.
He said Dexia will be responsible for monitoring how the loan resources are used.
Dexia's role in that process is to monitor the performance of that loan, to monitor what happens in terms of the exports of agricultural produce. So Dexia will be keeping a keen eye in terms of how the resources are being used, the farmers who are benefiting from it, because the intended purpose of this arrangement is to be able to assist in the payment to farmers. We would not like to hear situations where shipments are being made and farmers are not being paid. So the resources are being made available to Dexia specifically for that purpose, and also to assist in terms of defraying some of the other FOB costs involved in packaging and processing of the produce.
Government is hopeful that this will give farmers the confidence to increase production to the levels required by the markets. Currently, there are 150 farmers who have marketing arrangements with DAPEX. When Parliament meets for the fourth meeting of the fourth session of the 8th Parliament on Wednesday, October 23rd, it is expected to review an Electronic Funds Transfer Act. The legislation addresses the protection of intellectual property on the World Wide Web, as well as hacking, and seeks to prevent the misuse of data by making it illegal for people to invade the privacy of individuals who supply information, such as their credit card numbers. Meantime, Parliament will also review the law respecting electronic evidence and to provide for the requirements of electronic signatures and for the publication of electronic evidence. The Electronic Evidence Act was passed in 2010 with the prerequisite that it would be reviewed in 2 years. The Act allows law enforcement officials to properly investigate and prosecute cyber crimes. Other bills to be tabled in Parliament include a bill for an act to amend the Marriage Act, a bill for an act to amend the Public and Police Services Commissions, and one to give effect to the revised Treaty of Basse-Terre, establishing the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Economic Union. Parliament is expected to commence at 10 a.m. and will be carried live on radio and television. Meantime, Dominican Jean Joseph, the recipient of the 2013 Women of Great Esteem Award of Excellence, will hand over the Global Crystal to the government of Dominica during a special ceremony on Wednesday, October 23rd at 12:30 p.m. at the House of Assembly. Ms. Joseph, who resides in Brooklyn, New York, in May this year received the prestigious award from the Women of Great Esteem organization. That was for her outstanding performance as a renowned certified public accountant in New York and her knowledge of the tax laws of the United States. The Women of Great Esteem Award honors the recipient as well as the country from which she hails, hence the significance of Wednesday's presentation of the Global Crystal. During the ceremony, the polished crystal will be presented to Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit by Miss Jean Joseph herself. Dominica is the first country to receive the Global Crystal. The crystal will be placed for public display at the government headquarters and will remain on island until May next year. And Dominica is well on its way to developing a National Small Business Development Center (SBDC) model developed by the University of Texas at San Antonio. On Friday, the Dominica Employment and Small Business Support Agency hosted the final in a series of certificate training exercises on the United States Small Business Development Model for the Latin America and the Caribbean. at the Public Service Training Center in Roseau. The training exercises are being done in collaboration with the University of Texas, San Antonio, UTSA, the Organization of the American States, OAS, and the Caribbean Export Development Agency, Caribbean Export. Dominica is currently the fourth of 5 pilot Caribbean countries to complete all 4 modules of the SBDC certificate training. Damian Sorrendo of Caribbean Export gave some background into the program.
The 5 Caribbean countries piloting the SBDC program are Belize, Jamaica, Dominica, St. Lucia, and Barbados, with Belize having fully established a small business development center, which is already significantly contributing to the success of the small business sector in that country. We are particularly thankful for the dedicated and unwavering support provided by the Ministry of Employment, Trade, Industry and Diaspora Affairs, the NDFD, and the Dominica Youth Business Trust, whom have been readily available and helpful in every step of the SBDC process, from the very first stakeholder consultations held here in Dominica to the completion of the certificate training here today. The level and interest shown by our colleagues here in Dominica shows the level of commitment that exists in making this project work.
During Friday's opening ceremony, head of the employment agency, Alexander Stevenson, spoke to the benefits that a small business development center would bring to Dominica.
If we have a national small business development center in Dominica that is affiliated with the Association of Small Business Development Centers from the Americas, including Latin America and CARICOM, we'll be able to address the challenges facing small businesses and SBDCs across the country. This is where we will gain exposure to the latest thinking, the most advanced tools, where you can acquire cutting-edge and practical techniques to help make our national SBDC programs more effective, as well as network with fellow SBDC colleagues. MSMEs act as agents for development and are the means for wealth distribution, which in turn implies a contribution towards the reduction of poverty. But for the MSMEs to drive Dominica's economy to become a sustainable economy, we need to invite critical stakeholders to the table. Hence, moving forward, Dominica must have an MSME model that is based on the public-private academia partnership to enable us to advance towards a comprehensive methodology for the competitive development of our businesses.
The Dominica Employment and Small Business Support Agency, a unit within the Ministry of Employment, Trade, Industry and Diaspora Affairs, has the responsibility for formulating and implementing employment and small business development policies. Fresh from the 11th Annual Caribbean Week of Agriculture in Guyana, Dominica's Agriculture and Forestry Minister, Honorable Matthew Walter, reported on the event's agenda at a press conference on Monday. Caribbean Week of Agriculture, or CWA, which took place from October 4th to the 11th in Guyana, was conceptualized as a facility to place agriculture and rural life on the front burner of regional integration activities. One of its objectives is to create a forum where key decision makers in the public and private sectors can better acknowledge the importance of agriculture and rural life to the economic, social, and environmental stability of the region. Honorable Walter rated the event as a very successful one. One of the activities taking place during this week every year is the meeting of the Alliance for Sustainable Development of Agriculture and the Rural Milieu, or the Alliance. Minister Walter, until recently, served as chairperson of that group.
At the Alliance meeting, many salient matters came up by all the partners of the Alliance. And also the presence of the ministers contributed significantly and meaningfully to the dialogue that took place. Pertinent issues such as import substitution, youth and women, transportation, CADI, CAFSA, climate change, capacity building and institutional strengthening, and the dreaded black sigatoka disease, came under, I would say, intense and very brutal discussion from all who were present, including the ministers of agriculture.
Honorable Walter revealed that among those items, the issue of reducing the individual food import bills of Caribbean islands was a hot topic.
We are of the opinion that the Caribbean region in aggregate import too much food into the Caribbean. You're talking about an annual $4.5 billion US dollars, okay, is imported in the Caribbean every year. So we are also of the opinion that the Caribbean on a whole can do much better in preparing the enabling environment so that we ourselves, can substitute all those imports that we are bringing into our country on an annual basis that really are incurring a tremendous amount of money on the respective countries.
The Agriculture Minister feels strongly that Dominica's abundant food resources makes it relatively easy to eat local and support the native agriculture sector.
There are several foods that we import that we can do without in Dominica, that Dominicans themselves can grow. Our mindset has to be changed, because we have to tell ourselves that we have to produce the foods that we eat. And we have to eat the foods that we grow. Because if we do that, in the final analysis, what we will be doing is creating an environment where the young people in this country can get themselves actively involved in agricultural production.
In his closing remarks at that press conference, Honorable Matthew Walter told the nation that the field of agriculture is not one which should be entered haphazardly. The fact that the sector is the subject of numerous meetings year-round is reason enough to invest seriously in farming. Caribbean Week of Agriculture held its first inaugural meeting in 1998 in Trinidad and Tobago. The theme for this year's meeting was linking the Caribbean for regional food and nutrition security and rural development. In other news, with the influx of visitors to the island during the independence season, the Division of Agriculture is emphasizing its importation restrictions to protect the agricultural resources of the island. The Ministry of Agriculture at a press conference on Monday acknowledged that its policy is being strictly enforced, especially during this time. To illustrate this point, Chief Veterinary Officer of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Reginald Thomas, described the recent delay of a shipment of drilling equipment due to the presence of foreign animals and soil in the package.
2 weeks ago, there was an introduction of animals into our territory. There was a ship that came in with the drilling equipment for the geothermal project. The name of the boat was the Vestis Pride. On Tuesday, week before, that's the 8th, the officer, the plant quarantine officer at the port, on his routine surveillance, recognized that the equipment was loaded with a lot of soil, and he also noticed the movement of an animal. So he basically stopped the operation at the port, and we came in to investigate. To date, we recovered 20 cane toads. Cane toads have been, or are commonly called crapulad. It is not the frog that we have native to our island. And so we have recovered 20 animals that have been killed, euthanized in some cases, and are held at the molecular biology lab at the Botanic Gardens for further testing. We also found an iguana, green iguana, and one lizard. All these animals came in that consignment and were contained within the port, the confines of the port, and were retrieved.
The division's main concern was to protect Dominica's native quapo from competition and infection by the foreign frogs. In light of this and other potential threats to the ecosystem, the Division of Agriculture is warning travelers against importing foreign plants and animals. Officials are also warning that all soil imports will be refused.
Once you bring in soil into the country, your consignment will be re-exported immediately. The reason for that soil is of high risk. Soil carry pathogens, bacteria, fungi, and insects. So again, we are going to have a zero tolerance on importation of soil on any consignment or commodities.
Import permits are also being enforced.
The procedure as such is to come to us, provide us with the information, we do the necessary risk assessment, and we issue the permit to the individual. Large consignments require more time, so we can do the work that is necessary, because you would accept that and understand that the larger the consignment, the more risk that is associated with it. So we would have a more detailed procedure to issue that import permit. But in essence, it is making an application and we do a risk assessment, and then we issue the import permit to the importer.
In more news, the Global Environmental Facility, GEF, political and operational focal point representatives from a number of Caribbean countries are meeting in Dominica for the 24th meeting of the GEF Caribbean constituency. The two-day meeting, which commenced at the Fortune Hotel on Monday, is being held ahead of two similar meetings to take place in Paris in December and Washington in February of 2014. The purpose of the Dominica meeting is to enable the council members of the GEF recipient countries to meet with their constituency partners to discuss matters and to define constituency positions for council meetings. Participants will also discuss implementation of the GEF projects and share lessons learned. GEF Secretariat Representative Henry Salazar encouraged participants to put forward their suggestions to be submitted to subsequent meetings.
This is the opportunity for the countries to speak out and to mention what they want to see in GEF 6 regarding resources, programs, and focal areas. So please take this invitation. This constituency has been very serious providing comments to Minister Luce, and I hope you will continue providing those inputs so Minister Luce will be able to bring these issues to the replenishment negotiations and the next one in Paris in December, and hopefully the final one will be in February to be decided the venue, but most likely in Washington.
Dominica's Environment Minister, Honorable Dr. Kenneth Daru, welcomed the participants to deliberate in an atmosphere of unity.
It is quite fitting that Dominica hosts these important sessions at this time, as the theme for this year's independence celebrations is One Mission, One Dominica, celebrating 35. I urge you to consider this theme with some modification as you proceed with the deliberations. One mission, one Caribbean. We are many nations, but one people. We share many of the same blessings, but also many of the same challenges. The work that you will do here over these 2 days is timely and essential.
Honorable Daru used the opportunity to thank the Global Environment Facility through its Small Grants program for its ongoing support to Dominica.
This program, as I was discussing with Mr. Salazar, and I can speak to us here in Dominica, has financed a number of projects and programs which have impacted the lives of the everyday Joe public. And for this, I commend them. Because we need to ensure that whatever we do is translated into visible and tangible evidence that is geared towards the betterment of our people.
The Global Environment Facility, GEF, was established in 1991 to assist in the protection of the global environment and to promote environmental sustainable development.
Bienvenue parce que c'est bon important pour les hommes qui savent faire français à l'école, mais en même temps, c'est bien important pour comprendre créole là, ça qui ça nous, ça maman nous et papa nous ba nous. Et modeste des autres, bienvenue pour SIA et toutes ces moun la rode papier, télévision, radio qui est là avec nous.
And with that, the 30th anniversary of International Creole Day was launched at the Arawak House of Culture on Tuesday. In a completely novel move to bring the Francophone world together for the promotion and preservation of the Creole language, Dominica plays host to a week-long Creole symposium and exhibition. The guests come from all over the Creole-speaking world: St. Lucia, Seychelles, Guadeloupe, Louisiana, Haiti, and Martinique. A number of discussions and presentations will be featured throughout the week to deal with issues of Creole in formal education, Creole in popular music, Creole in visual arts, and numerous others. The exposition could be viewed until 6 p.m. at the Botanic Gardens on Tuesday and continues on Wednesday from 1. Honorable Peter St. Jean was representing the Ministry of Culture.
Dominique, même nous avons fêté 35 l'année indépendance. Même l'année ça là, nous avons fêté le 30e anniversaire Journée Créole internationale. Et nous sommes contents puisque nous n'y avons raison pour fêter ensemble aujourd'hui là. En ces 30 années qui y passaient, la membre Basile Créole décidé pour observer le 28 octobre comme Journée Créole internationale. Et nous joignons une des raisons, puisque nous avons des raisons pour nous célébrer. Et nous avons fêté créole en plusieurs pays, tout en la terre.
Koreka, an association which conducts regional cooperation projects aimed at establishing friendships with neighboring Caribbean countries, is a major part of this undertaking.
En cas représenté Guadeloupe, et nous avons une délégation à Koreka qui partenaire à l'organisation là, congrès ressorti de nous, Conseil général Guadeloupe, Conseil régional Guadeloupe, la mairie Zabim, Association à écrivains à Caraïbes là, et groupe culturel Mascaclé. Nous toutes vignes ici d'en partager expérience en nous, à si langue et culture créole. Donc, congrès Gorizi dit, Julien Mérillon, président à Koreka, pas là aujourd'hui là, il est arrivé demain, mais en nom à président Koreka, Julien Mérillon, en cas souhaité tout le monde, tout bitin passé bien, nous comptons nous là, en cas dit tout le monde qui vous s'ouvre nous en Dominique, en grand merci. Faut nous travailler comme il faut, bas créole la force pour aller plus loin. Et c'est vrai que Koreka, depuis dans l'association nous avons fait un projet que nous avons créé, journée caribéenne. Et dans ces journées-là, ça, nous avons fait avec Dominique, nous avons fait avec Sainte-Lucie, nous avons fait avec Montserrat. Et ça qui a chambé nous dans toutes ces journées-là, ça, parce que tout le monde Guadeloupe pas capable parler anglais, tout le monde Dominique pas capable parler français, tout le monde Sainte-Lucie pas capable parler français aussi. Donc nous ni en langue qui a rassemblé nous. Et tout ça nous fait, toute réunion, tout projet nous fait avec toutes bonnes îles Caraïbes, nous avons toujours rassemblé autour à langue créole.
This collaboration is partial fulfillment of Dominica's efforts to work even closer with the neighboring French islands.
Pendant 6 semaines là, ça, en ces 30 années-là qui passaient, nous, en Dominique, nous avons fait un long avance en créole. Nous avons établi différentes manières pour travailler avec Guadeloupe et aussi la Martinique en économie, en énergie, et aussi en différentes lignes de coopération. Et moi, je veux dire que en ces 30 années ça là, nous tous tapons bénéfice quand nous travaillons ensemble.
The week of activities is strongly supported by the Ministry of Tourism.
The 30th anniversary of International Creole Day. We are pleased to respond favorably to a proposal by Coreca of Guadeloupe that Dominica host a symposium as a signature event to mark this special occasion. And this was because of Dominica's Creole role in the establishment of International Creole Day. After several months of planning and preparation, and working closely with our partners such as Coreca, we are now gathered here, Novini, Asia, Assam, to look at some of our experiences in promoting langage Creole, Ekulti Creole, over the past 30 years, and importantly, to chart a way forward, to agree on ways that we can cooperate and we can promote the Creole culture and our Creole heritage.
Before we leave you, here are a few important announcements. The Establishment Personnel and Training Department is pleased to announce that a workshop on conflict management is scheduled to be held at the Public Service Training Center from November 26th to the 27th, 2013. The objective of the program is to make participants aware of common types of conflicts within an organization and to understand key managerial actions and structures aimed at minimizing or resolving conflicts. The program targets senior and middle-level managers from various ministries and departments. All sessions will be held from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Nominations should be reached by the Establishment Personnel and Training Department by Thursday, October 31st, 2013. And the Establishment Personnel and Training Department is pleased to announce that a workshop on government accounting procedures is scheduled to be held at the Public Service Training Center from November 13th to the 15th, 2013, and November 19th to the 21st, 2013. The aim of the program is to provide participants with the knowledge and skills to perform accounting duties effectively in government accounting units. It will also provide an opportunity for a cadre of officers to broaden their career prospects within the public service. The program targets officers at the senior clerk and executive officer levels who have indicated a keen interest but have had little or no work experience in government accounting procedures. The course is also open to officers within the accounting stream who have not previously attended the training program. Sessions from November 13th to the 15th, 2013 will be from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily at the Public Service Training Center, while sessions from November 19th to the 21st, 2013 will be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Computer Center. Nominations should be received by the Establishment Personnel and Training Department by Thursday, October 31st, 2013. And finally, the general public is informed that in view of Creole in the Park, the Roseau Health Center and its pharmacy will be closed for regular work from 12:30 p.m. from Monday 21st October to Thursday 24th, 2013. Please note that all emergencies out of the park should be forwarded to the Accident and Emergency Department at the Princess Margaret Hospital. Your cooperation is solicited. And that's the English news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole, non moins c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, plusieurs officiers organisation Jeff joignent en Dominique semaine là pour 2 jours. Plusieurs bagailles qui concernent l'opération organisation ça l'a discuté. Organisation là qui met attention à ces bagailles qui concernent le développement sustainable. Mr. Lloyd Pascal, c'est chef Environmental Coordinating Unit.
Depuis 1992, tout pays mondial était assemblé à Rio de Janeiro, au Brésil, avec une décision pour faire un fonds pour se garder compte pays en développement qui a besoin d'argent pour protéger l'environnement. Eh bien, tout pays qui même la sanctionné, c'est même aussi font ça là. Comme ça, pays qui riche qui mettre l'argent en dedans pour pays qui pauvre pour utiliser pour gommer contre la pauvreté avec pour faire développement durable. Ça c'est en anglais nous dit sustainable development. Comme ça, aujourd'hui, nous tous les Caraïbes qui joignent ici pour nous faire plan. Parce que il y a un bureau le 4, 5 et 6 novembre, l'année en réunion à Washington DC avec Dominique, ni pour aller représenter toute Caraïbe, toute CARICOM. Comme ça, nous avons préparé nous pour réunion ça là.
À la nouvelle, ministère de l'Agriculture, Honorable Matthew Walter, est chef délégation Dominique qui attendait Simen Agriculture, qui prend place en Guyane. Directeur agriculture Ricky Brumant, c'était l'autre membre de délégation là.
Film Caribbean Week of Agriculture, c'est pour comment mener, manger région là, avec nutrition région là ensemble pour faire santé qui moun manger bien et là il y a assez manger pour moun manger. Aussi pour faire certains habitants qui sont restés pas en ville mais qui sont en village, ces villages là taper développement là ils ont besoin pour faire santé la vie plus meilleure avec la vie des enfants plus meilleure. Là il y a autant meeting pour semaine là, différents meetings, différents workshops, nous regarder code by coco, comment nous avons développé l'industrie coco, nous avons regardé comment nous avons développé cabri TV mouton pour faire certains abats assez viande pour cuisiner nous. Vous savez, McPherson, région là qui a mené autant viande de l'autre pays. Et nous voulons couper ça, pas avec une région là, mais en Dominique aussi. Nous voulons faire certains qui, les gens qui tapent assez viande pour manger. Et nous avons quoi qui cabri TV mouton, ça fait ça. Avec cochon avec poule aussi.
À la nouvelle, le Parlement Dominique a ouvert l'occasion où mercredi dernier a commencé à 10h pour le 4e meeting, 4e session du Parlement. Comme l'a coutume speaker, Honorable Alex Boyd Knight qui rentre, la pouille qui tient et puis il aussi ni parole compliment. Speaker qui bat annoncement et puis papier qui présente différents officiers en parmi Premier ministre Honorable Roosevelt Scarron, Honorable Ian Douglas et puis Honorable Ambrose George. Gouvernement qui bat notice et puis opposition qui demande plusieurs sections. Gouvernement qui aussi répond ces sections là. En même temps aussi, le ministère du gouvernement qui fait parole et puis présentation bill qui pour débattre en parlement. Le gouvernement qui aussi tapé pouvoir parlement pour supplementary estimates pliquer 78 millions de dollars l'argent. Il y a aussi voir ça au second and third reading of bills. Ça c'est que présenter bill qui est le deuxième et puis troisième fois en caille parlement. Et puis, finalement, plusieurs pays francophones qui attendent des symposiums et puis exhibitions créoles qui prennent place en Dominique semaine là. Il y a une cérémonie en l'occasion Arawak en Roseau, où l'officier gouvernement Honorable Peter Saint-Jean, Honorable Ian Douglas, Mayor Roseau Cecil Joseph, et puis officier correct de Guadeloupe, délivré par Wall si propre symposium là. Si le chef officier culture Raymond Lawrence, symposium là bien significant, qu'on y a poussé et puis préserver le langage créole là.
Le symposium là très important pour Dominique et fait pousser pays là qui parlent créole parce que il can mener nous plus ensemble, il can promouvoir le langage là qui la plus bagaille important pour symposium ça là. Manière nous can continuer promouvoir et préserver créole langage à l'école, à la communauté. Pour plus de monde parler créole, pour plus de monde apprécier le langage là, pour médias, radio, télévision, bagaille comme ça, promouvoir le langage là plus, et pour ces jeunes monde là, à ces pays là, pas oublier, ça c'est le langage nous, ça c'est le langage power nous, et grand power nous, et nous-mêmes pour préserver. Quand nous parlons anglais, quand nous parlons français, quand nous parlons espagnol, nous n'y pour parler langage nous-mêmes aussi. qui c'est créole. Créole c'est pays là qui parle créole. Et bien, il a mené nous plus ensemble dans réunion ça là qui a pour place dans l'indépendance. Et bien, il a comme c'est de mettre langage là à en place important pour tout le monde apprécier l'importance langage créole à l'avenir.
Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour à présent. Non, moi c'est McPherson, c'est Luce, car de tout le monde en bonne saison indépendant. Au revoir.
Up next in the tip of the day, how to be responsible.
Do you have uncovered water storage drums around your home? Do you dispose of old tires, cans and old containers capable of holding water anywhere in your environment? Are you being bitten by mosquitoes, particularly at dusk and early morning? Do you keep houseplants in water? Do you spend your hard-earned cash to control mosquitoes? Has your community experienced dengue fever outbreaks? If your answer is yes to at least 3 questions above, you are at risk to dengue fever. Join the fight against dengue fever. The responsibility for a dengue-free Dominica lies with you. So, get rid of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
Being a responsible person should never be a drag. Behaving responsibly actually adds meaning to our lives and allows us to develop character, forge meaningful relationships, and get ahead in the world of work. Here's to help you on your quest to being responsible. Understand that responsibility is earned. It's not something you're entitled to. If someone is hesitant to give you additional responsibility, it's probably because you've been nonchalant with the responsibilities you already have. Whether you're at work, school, or a member on a sports team, you have to prove that you can handle the smaller stuff before you're given more responsibility. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website at news.gov.dm. On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Fontaine. Thank you for watching.